My name is Lesley, and this is my story. It all started on a hot summer day in June of 1987. Brian and I had just gotten married the March before, and we were still experiencing all of the newlywed things. I still enjoyed doing his laundry and folding his underwear and his socks and making his favorite meal. It was that morning on a Friday where I had a day off that I made his favorite salad, was preparing his lunch and taking it down to Robert's where he was working. As I got in the car to head to Robert's, that's the last thing I remember of that day. The rest was told by Brian and my family. I had my seatbelt on and was headed to Robert's when a semi-trailer tractor crossed the center line and hit me. I was driving a Ford Escort, my very first car, and it's a small car, and it just took me into the field, and that was the story. Right away, the sirens in Piper City and Chatsworth went off, and the first responders and fire trucks came to the rescue, to the scene. And there they said, we think it's a lady from Chatsworth, we think it's a king from Chatsworth. Where Brian's parents came to the accident site because they heard all the hubbub and noticed my car with my Wyoming license plate on it. That's where I lived before I moved to Illinois. And right away they said, we need to find their husband. So they ran down to Robert's and said, Brian, you need to get to Piper City. Lesley was in a serious truck car accident. And he said right away, when he started thinking about the tragedy and that he wasn't there, this black cloud just started covering him and enveloping him. And he said it just made him feel physically sick. When he started praying, when he started crying out to God for his assistance and his help and his intervention, it lifted, the black cloud lifted, and he could see again and he could think straight. But the minute that he took his focus off of that spirit of death, that blanket would cover him again. When he got to the scene of the accident, I was already transported to Fairbury Hospital. Once he got a ride there, he ran into the emergency room and they said, he has to get out, he has to get out. But he did say, he goes, Lesley, I saw you and you looked nothing like yourself. You were about 4 feet tall and looked like you weighed about 350 pounds. He says, it was terrible to see you so close to death. They said, we need to get her to St. Francis. We need to get her in a helicopter and life flight her there. Once I got to Peoria, they put me in ICU and my lungs had collapsed, so they put me on a ventilator. In all honesty, that's the first thing that I remember of that accident, not being able to talk. And if you know me, that is critical. I like to communicate, I like to encourage, I like to talk, but I couldn't because my lungs were not working. At that time, they said, we won't be able to do surgery till the next day because she's so swollen. We don't know if she's gonna throw a blood clot. We just don't know. So they were in waiting period, so they just began to pray. They got people on prayer chains. The power of prayer is so huge. The next day they did the surgeries. Both of my femurs were fractured, not fractured, crushed, smashed. My lungs collapsed, my spleen was ruptured, and lots of contusions and cuts that they had to staple and put me back together again. It was at that time that they knew that I would live, but they didn't know if I would walk, talk, or any of those things. So it was a game of faith. I really was there, but not there. It was my family and my friends and my church that prayed for us. It's the power of prayer is why I am here today, to be able to share my story with you. But what I have learned through all this is you need to marry the right person. Brian never left my side, and he loved me so unconditionally. Christ is the only one that does it better. But my husband was with me to support me and to take care of me. And the power of prayer, the power of prayer. And now I see things and I hear about accidents, and it still makes me think, oh dear Lord, why did you spare my life? Why did my life live and others didn't? And I don't understand that, and I never will. But I know that God's ways are higher. His ways are better than mine. And I have just declared from June 12, 1987, that I'm going to share my faith with people that come across my path, that I'm going to look for opportunities to share of God's goodness. Because I became a Christian 6 years prior to June 12th, my life has never been the same. And my guarantee of heaven, when crisis has happened, that promise is there.